Welcome back to the Layman's Law School, where one resident laywoman host has to wrangle these three trial attorneys to talk about...
Three fine Southern gentlemen trial attorneys.
Excuse me. Three fine Southern gentlemen attorneys to talk to you about the law and break it down in simple terms. And we're talking today about a gentleman who was a truck driver, okay, who had some chronic pain, and he took a CBD product that he researched and found out that it was a 0% THC to make sure he was not going to get in trouble for his drug test. Got drug tested, tested positive, was fired. And now he is suing, get this, under the same law that is used to take down the mob. And the Supreme Court said, okay, go ahead.
0% label with 100% problem.
Exactly. But before we get into it, but first, it's Friday, boys.
Oh, yeah. We got to bring her out. I know Tracy's got his ginger ale today.
I think
that's right.
I
have a condition.
I don't approve.
I have a doctor that says I can't have them anymore.
I'll be your Bud Light buddy
I
today.
am drinking ginger ale as well.
I'm not
you are,
happy
Sean.
with either one of you.
Cheers.
I'm going to let
Lots
my discomfort be known. I don't approve.
Why don't you focus on the
Reed,
positive?
you know good and well I would slam a Bud Light right here,
I know you would.
but you failed to bring enough for the family.
Chase said he wasn't going to drink it or something. I don't know.
Reed, I'll trip and fall on the ground and hurt myself if it make you feel better. I suffer.
That wasn't
Good.
Okay.
So I'm sure you're wondering, like, why are we talking about CBD products? Of course we're talking about them because they're freaking everywhere.
Everywhere. The gas station, I mean.
Grocery stores.
Yeah, grocery stores.
Online ads. I
Yeah,
mean,
it is
constantly.
They're
I
like
see stuff
CBD
everywhere.
vitamins now.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
So, and most of these, as most people may or may not know, like they aren't regulated by the FDA. And so a lot of studies show that even though they may say they don't contain THC, most of these products are found once tested to actually have some THC in them, which this is a problem if you work in a job or you get drug tested.
Absolutely.
And you'll get yourself in trouble. And so by the end of this episode, we hope that you understand how a law designed to take down the mafia, we'll find out about that in a little bit, can be used against everyday businesses, and why CBD products are a legal minefield, and what to do if something you bought is going to cost you your job, and what your rights are to defend that. Right?
Sounds good.
We'll see.
All right, well, let's talk about the facts. We're going to talk about a specific case that happened in the case Medical Marijuana Incorporated versus Horn. So in 2012, Douglas Horn, a commercial truck driver in New York. Sorry, I gotta get my glasses again. I'm not used to wearing them, but it helps me.
So this is 40.
This is 40.
This is 42. So Douglas Horn, a commercial truck driver in New York, he gets into a crash and he injured his hip and shoulder. And so traditional medicine was not helping him with his chronic pain. He found a product online called Dixie X through a magazine ad. It was marketed as CBD rich and 0% THC. Because he is a DOT regulated driver, he wanted to be sure. And so he calls the company and says, hey, I've got to make sure this is THC free. They say, yes, it is. We assure you that it is. A few weeks later, after he starts the Dixie X, he is given a random drug screening and he tests positive for THC. His employer says that he has to enter a substance abuse program. He refuses, saying, I was not doing drugs. And so I refused to go to treatment for this. And they terminated him. This is after 14. He was a driver for them for 14 years. And they were like, yep, nope, sorry, gotta go. And so he ordered another bottle of Dixie X and sent it to an independent lab. And what were the results? Guess what? It contains
Positive.
THC well over the federal legal limit.
Well, and it's not surprising.
No.
What's the website again?
You got to think about the process of them manufacturing these products.
Yep.
And obviously it all comes from the hemp or marijuana plant that all have some level of THC in them.
Yep.
And the refining of that to eliminate the THC
In mass production.
Obviously, the more money you spend on refining it and the more money you spend on testing would assure that you don't have any THC in your product. Most of these companies, especially these fly-by-night companies that you've never heard of, like Dixie High or whatever, Dixieland Delight, whatever this thing is. I mean, they have a inherent selfish interest to spend as least amount as possible on getting a product to market and charging for it. So it's not surprising to me when you don't have something that is tested or regulated by the FDA, or you at least don't have to provide your own testing that has some level of scrutiny to it, there's some type of certification process to show that we've gone through all these steps to know that the product does not contain any THC. It's not surprising that it is reaching consumers in quantities that have THC in them.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's probably. I mean, it's probably such a low amount that you have no effects or feel no effects, but it's kind of like they show up on a drug test. I think if I remember correctly, I mean it's all through the Farm Bill, and I believe it's like 0.03% is allowed. That's kind of like the mistake area, you know.
Sure.
So you know, it's the same
within
thing.
The margin of error.
The little. You know, the one standard deviation away, to totally nerd out on everybody. But it's the same thing with prescription drugs and that kind of thing, where that's why prescription drugs in America are so high, is because they go to like the third level, right, where it's perfect. Well, you might not need it perfect if it's, you know, something that's not super dangerous. And this isn't super dangerous, so that's kind of why they do it, I think. But if you're relying on it to not have any THC in it, that's a problem.
It's risky, right? And so Horn actually, of course, as we talked about, he decided to sue. And here's where it gets wild, because this is probably not where you would think he would go in direction as far as a lawsuit. But he doesn't just file a regular lawsuit. He sues under RICO. And this is the same law, of course. As we jump into the law portion of this, I'm going to ask, I feel like I always ask Chase to define this. Can you define?
Yeah.
So like, first of all, what is RICO? And can you also give us maybe reference like a popular case that people may know about where RICO was used? That's not anything like this case.
Well, I'll just say this. I'll try to do it in one sentence. It's a law that lets you sue or prosecute people when someone runs an enterprise through a pattern of specific crimes, whether it's fraud, whether it's taking bets, running a prostitution house or an illegal casino. It's a pattern, an enterprise of acts, and it was designed to take down the mafia because it was counterproductive to try to prosecute them for individual acts. It's hard to catch them for individual acts, but they could prove through circumstantial evidence and hard evidence, wiretaps, that there was this enterprise of illegality. Right. And so it allows the reason why this is done under RICO, I believe, is this gentleman's lawyers. Yep. Because it allows for triple damages and for the attorney's fees to be paid by the person being sued. Yeah. And so it allows for the damages to be multiplied, and the what the actual client gets does not the legal fee is not taken out of that. Yeah. So
I might be jumping ahead, but do you think this was a smart move on his attorney's part?
Absolutely.
I mean, is it something where you're like, no, this was genius, or was it like, I mean, it's smart, but
no, I wouldn't say it was genius. I would say that it's very smart. I mean, on top of the not diminishing the return for the client who's been injured and what his damages would be by getting them to pay the attorney's fees should they be found at fault, or at least during the settlement negotiations that, look, this is what y'all are on the hook for, should you be found at fault. But the Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organizations Act in federally and in most states also has a lot of civil aspects to it as well, where you can go out and seize or at least put a hold on people's bank accounts and things. Okay. So when we think about these small type corporations or limited liability corporations or companies that are manufacturing these products and putting them out, and they're usually under multiple companies that have you could go out and, if you had the information, and seize the bank account and put a stop on it of Lindsay McCullough, Oh, she's got $7 million in this bank account.
She ain't going to Disney this
month.
month.
It's not going anywhere. She's not going to Disney. Bo and Tilly are going to be upset. Maybe not Bo, but Tilly will be. So that when you do get a judgment, you can actually have money to go after, as opposed to a company, we're getting sued, spending all the money, sending it somewhere else. Okay.
We don't have any money.
We don't have any money. You got a $1 million verdict against us. We don't have any
Can't
money.
do it.
We file bankruptcy. It's a limited liability company. So our assets are the only thing that you can go after. We have no assets type thing. So there's a lot of things in RICO that they could use. And I think it would be, smart if you have a case that fits in it, that you can ever show a pattern of criminal activity.
Yeah. So why doesn't everybody do this?
Well, there's often not a pattern of criminal activity.
It's a narrow. It's a narrow.
So is it because he got the product and had it tested and he was able to show that it wasn't just my bottle, it was another bottle too?
Well, his attorneys had him do that, I guarantee you. He didn't do that on his own.
What do you mean? I feel like I would have done, I don't know.
Well,
I feel like I would have done
Chase,
that.
You help me out on it. It's a
I
narrow.
would be like, wait a minute.
It's a very
avenue.
It is a narrow avenue in that RICO actually bars you actually suing for personal injury.
Yep.
And so and in this particular case, I'm not sure he can sue for having a little bit better time than he thought he was going to have.
Yeah.
Right. But you can, and this is the thing that the court was clear on, sue for damage to your business or property.
Yeah.
Right. And so he lost his job.
And he lost his job.
And that's the big.
So that's what they
that's
focused
the
on.
biggest.
Right, and that was the
loss.
risk. That was,
the
and
loss.
that's a loss, and that was the risk because that question hadn't been answered really before. When things get to the Supreme Court, it's because it's a novel legal issue.
Yeah.
And there was a question as to whether or not someone could sue when there's, no personal injury and he just lost his job, whether he could sue under the RICO Act and what the Supreme Court ultimately decided was that you can sue even if it traces back to a personal injury event. Yep. Or as long as you're suing for damages to business or property loss.
Oh, and that was the main argument is that the Dixie Land Delights or whoever
I like Dixieland Delight
said that this you can't do this under RICO. This is a personal injury to him.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court said that no, in this circumstance, based on his career livelihood,
He's probably like, I wasn't injured at all.
This is a business injury to him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think, and one of the things I read that was interesting was I don't know. I think it had to be in the case law, but what the analogy they gave was the robbery. Did y'all see that? Most of the time, like in this case, for example, you had really no personal injury, like y'all were saying, but the case that they decided, they had an analogy of somebody who's a store owner, like
with a robbery,
corner store owner, right? And somebody comes in that robs him, but it's a part of a organized crime unit, and they beat the crap out of him, and he's really, really hurt. I mean, he's in the hospital and on and on. Well, now, he can't recover for his bodily injuries, but he can't run
RICO.
Right, but he can't run his store anymore.
Right.
So then he has to close the store. And so now he's not making any money from his store. So he could recover from the store. And that was the analogy from the case that I thought really put it in perspective to kind of show the difference. And as an attorney, you have to look at it as what's more valuable for your client. Is the business aspect or is the personal injury on certain cases?
Okay, so let me ask this. Normally in these circumstances, if a person had taken a product that did not perform in the way that it was advertised, or let's say it's false advertising, what legal action can a person get based on that?
That would be products liability in most cases. So
is that harder to get?
It depends. It depends on the case because you can.
Facts.
Right. So let's just say it's a.
Can I give you an example?
Sure.
Okay. As we've already addressed earlier, as a 42-year-old woman, I get served a lot of stuff now about my body is about to start changing, okay? And all this stuff that these products that will...
Where's your readers? Oh, there they are.
Yeah.
No,
Your
I got
body
them.
has
I got
changed.
them. They're right
It
here.
has changed.
It is changing, right? But these ads are actually more about weight loss and my hormones are changing. And so they're trying to regulate my hormones and weight loss. Well, I've done my due diligence on research and reviews. And of course, it is across the board. If it works for some people, it works for others. So if I were to buy one of those products and use it for exactly as they dictated for however long, and it didn't work, could I sue for that?
Most likely not, just because of the juice wouldn't be worth the squeeze there.
Okay.
The issue would be
If it
something.
hurt you or did something
If it-
terrible.
Let's just
Okay.
say, for instance, you're taking a drug, sleeping drug.
And then I started having
you ever heard of
seizures
the
or something.
thalidomide babies?
No.
People that were born with like little lobster-like claw arms.
No.
So I think it was
was
a
all
I think it was a sleeping pill. I'm not 100% sure, but it was a pill. It was alleged to do a particular thing, help you go to sleep. These people took it during pregnancy, and it wasn't labeled on there that there was any issue with a pregnancy risk. And then there was a whole slew of children born with this terrible birth defect.
Giving me
Right?
chills.
Right. So if you label your product as doing a particular thing, and you fail to warn about certain risks, and then you profit from it, then people can recover if they're damaged because of your failure to warn, your failure to say, for instance, you're supposed to put in X amount of this chemical and you put in twice as much, and that's what caused the issue.
Yeah.
The challenge becomes a lot of times in those cases the complexity of actually proving the issue. So we had the Takata airbag lawsuit class action a long time ago, where the airbag itself, when it actually expands and explodes, it was sending shrapnel, little metal pieces through and actually killing people by hitting them in the face and neck and then
it's an accident, so you didn't know if it was the airbag, if it was the accident.
Right, and so
I'm gonna read up on
there's
that.
but then you have to hire engineers that can show this was designed wrong, this was the defect in the design. They should have known about it.
Yeah.
They should have designed it. They should have tested it this way or that way. And these people died because they didn't do that. The cost of doing that is through the roof.
Outrageous. It is
One point
unbelievable.
before we move on, back to your other point about the product that caused the birth defects. I feel like almost every product, at least maybe it's because I'm female, right? So all the products that I get are usually like women related. I feel like every single one of them has a disclaimer about if you are pregnant or could be pregnant. That's the other thing, right? Too, or nursing. You need to like see a doctor before you take this product. That is on almost everything because of things like that. I'm sure where it's like, look, pregnant women, we got a lot going on. We're not trying to mess with no babies.
Have you noticed that when you pick up your prescriptions, there's a small booklet of like wrapped
Stapled
receipt
to
and a
it.
staple to it? That it's a little bit counterproductive at this point.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
Publix, they make you sign and say that you read it.
Exactly.
Publix is like, no, here's the pin.
Exactly. I mean, we haven't figured out how to do this really effectively to where it really protects people and does what it's supposed to, because if you give people too little information, then they can't make good choices.
Right.
If you give them so much information that you're essentially not informing them of, informing them of everything, then
Which means nothing.
which means nothing.
Yep.
So
It's a tough balance, and that's why we have jobs, Chase.
Well,
and we got to keep
that's
fighting
what
the
you
fight.
have, from a legal standpoint, that's what you have to think about is like, how do, what do American consumers expect, and what do companies expect that they should have to provide? We have.
And what I always go to, Sean, knowledge. What did they know? What did they know?
And it's, that when you go through a product
should have
liability
known.
case, it's product, design defect, manufacturing defect,
Yep.
that it was designed properly, but they manufactured it wrong,
Yep.
or failure to warn, which means that they knew or should have known about a dangerous defect or condition, but they didn't warn us about it type thing.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, you also have, even if you can't prove that, the negligence aspect, negligent design, that they design something that they should, that they negligently design, that, or negligent manufacturing, or failure to warn from a matter of negligence.
Then you got the backside of that of how did the person use this product? Did they use it correctly?
It's always got to be a product that is used as intended. Or foreseeably used, type thing. It's not always just, well, we're giving you this thing and this is how you're supposed to use it. Yeah. The companies have to look out for the foreseeability of its use.
Like, for example, a small chair, you could foresee that to be used as a stool, something to that effect. And there's all kind of little things that way. But yeah, that's a lot of gray area in that. But the big one on this is if you have your hypotheticals to chase, where that's still going to be personal injury, and you can only recover that one time. And it's the big one in RICO, I think, for attorneys and people trying to collect on something is those treble damages is the 3 times, because that's automatic. Like, that is statutory. That's what you're getting, and that's huge. And when you have a case like that, usually they resolve and they settle because there's so much risk to that other party.
What this means, unfortunately, is that, you can't, you need to do your research. You need to do significant research. You don't.
Any product that's not regulated by the FDA, you are taking a risk by using it, period.
I don't put my whole full faith with the United States government and their regulatory agencies, but at least it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
If you're, somewhere in the middle of nowhere and you buy a product at a gas station, convenience store that is, THC-free, you've never heard of, it's called Dixieland Delight. And even if they have a phone number,
it's hypothetical.
Even if you have a phone number that you can call and you call them, who are you going to get on the phone? Yeah. You're not going to get the scientist in the lab. You're going to get a customer service rep that's going to say.
They've got a binder that they're prompted on what you say and what they answer.
Well, the package says it's THC-free, so yes, sir, it's THC-free. Yeah. So,
I would like to point out that if he was that concerned about it having THC in it, are there not tests available for you to purchase, like drug tests? Like, you can.
I don't know.
There are, right?
There are, but that
probably wouldn't pick up on that.
It would require you in most cases to ingest it yourself,
right,
and then test your pH, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you got it like a 28-day vacation.
Another thing on these that we kind of skipped over a little bit on all this stuff is that I think is hugely important that we talk about all the time, and it's, can you hold these people liable after you get the verdict, after you get the judgment? Are these, like Sean, like you're saying about the gas station?
Sure.
It could be the guy right across the street who was making it and just wrapped it up. It's homemade, right? Like, okay, you sue him. There's nothing there. Like, look into the actual company. I don't, I'm not a government guy. I don't, like you said, Sean, I don't really trust the FDA either. But at least if they're FDA approved, they're probably big enough where they're not just going to fall and just a little bit more legit. So at least you can have some kind of recourse if something happens to you because they're a little bit bigger.
And I do want to ask the viewers, are you a CBD user? And so as we're talking about this stuff, like, what are your thoughts on this?
I think CBD has tons of great uses, Well,
and that's the thing is if, we obviously all agree that CBD products like that have great uses for medicinal purposes, whatever.
Especially arthritis. I have family members who have to use it all the time.
There are places in every community generally that are reputable businesses that specialize in selling these products for that reason.
Right.
Do they cost maybe a little bit more? Probably so. Yep. But that's because these are the products that have been through
the testing.
They know that they're safe, or they have a better understanding that they're safe at least.
Yep.
They probably don't have a level of THC that's going to cause you to test positive on a drug test. Yep. That's what you're paying for.
Yep.
So if you're going to be involved in this type of thing and use these products, do your research, consult with reputable companies, look at national companies that produce these things, because the bigger the company they are, the more likely that they're doing more research, more testing.
Well, every state is going to have different laws, so they got to, get through all of those.
Sure.
Generally, if a guy's selling something out of all 50 states, well, that company's gone through rigorous stuff, because every state's different. The testing, the numbers, the percent of trace amounts of THC is different. So, I agree. You got to kind of look at that.
If Anheuser-Busch produced a CBD product, which I'm sure they do by now.
Careful. We are trying to get them to sponsor us. So what are you going to say?
Chase is trying to get us
I would
sponsor.
I would 100% trust Anheuser-Busch,
Absolutely.
a national huge corporation,
Absolutely.
to say this is THC-free
Right.
before I bought the Dixieland Delight product
That's right.
at the local corner store
That's right.
that I never heard of.
Alabama fans are going to riot
Yeah, this is
about
this.
this.
I love it. I love
This
it.
is actually, believe it or not, a
The band, not the state.
Yeah, I know.
black
Okay.
market cottage industry, and
Oh, I'm sure.
prior to the CBD debacle, it mainly occurred in weightlifting and weight training and performance
wow.
enhancing
Yeah.
Right, that makes
drugs.
sense.
And so, like, what would happen is you would have a fly-by-night shell company that was created in Suing province.
Right.
They would have creatine 3000 max, and it's
That
supposed
has
to.
steroids in
That
it.
had real steroids in
Gotcha.
it. And then the bodybuilders would all get on the forums. You can go to GNC and get the 3000 max, and you get great results, and you do. And then
Then they fail the drug test.
Then
Get
6
popped.
years later,
Yeah.
they get caught
trouble.
doing it. They close the place down.
Yeah.
A new one pops up. They do the same thing.
Owned by the same people.
Yeah, and
Different brand.
a number of UFC fighters
It's
have,
creatine 3000X2.
have had the same exact issue as this guy.
Baseball
because
players, same thing.
They
Baseball players.
popped for and it's basically
Yeah.
it's got the list of ingredients.
Yeah.
None of those
But the problem
supplements
is
are
when
banned.
you have so many in sports, at least, you can't. They all say that, right? And I know there's some people that are not guilty, but you kind of get numb to it. You're like, oh, y'all know what you're doing. but anyway, yes, I agree, Chase. It's the same thing in sports. It's all over.
Bottom line, buyer beware.
That's it.
But also, I would like to add to that something that I don't feel like we say enough in the practical takeaways is if you have a situation like this man, please go see an attorney.
Yeah.
Go see a local attorney and
And
find out
one-
what your rights are.
before we forget
Even if you're
them
not
to-
sure and you think, oh, well, I just bought this product and I'm just screwed. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Most attorneys, I can only speak for our firm, but most attorneys give you a free consultation. They'll sit down and at least guide you on what your next steps are. I think so many with stuff like this, I feel like people feel like sometimes products are bigger than they are and that it won't matter. And that's not true.
No, it does.
Like find a
It
good attorney.
absolutely
It does matter.
But one other thing before we close out, also remember that just because you bought something and they promised you that it had no THC and then you got fired, well, that you can get your job back and all that. No, the employer still can fire and hire, especially in Georgia and other states, for any reason they want. That's not protected by
It's a whole
classes.
other
Before
can
we
of
go in the whole
employment
thing,
law.
Yeah,
the general
but
look.
that's a good
If you
point.
didn't mean to have THC in your system, if you never intended for that, and you were drugged, they still could release you and fire you if you failed a drug test. I mean, that's
keep you fired.
yes. So
Yep.
you can't go after them, but there are other avenues you can go after.
Yep.
I can't wait till our laws actually catch up and we start suing people for advertising, hey, this has 25 milligrams. And it doesn't have 25 milligrams.
Yeah.
Hey, you promised
told
me 20.
me
Yeah.
it was 25.
25.
I
And there's
only
only
got
15. What the
I mean,
Yeah, we both did 15.
I don't want
That's
to
good.
look. All I want is when I buy a bag of chips, I would like the bag to be full of chips.
That's never going to
and not
happen.
have-
The bags will keep getting bigger, and them chips keep getting smaller. A lot of air
Bag
in there.
stays the same size. The chips get smaller.
Air.
And the ounces listed at the bottom get smaller.
smaller. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I'm
Shrinkflation.
upset about. But
Shrinkflation
moral of
is
the
a
story,
true-
as you
true
said,
thing.
do your
Buy
research, document everything. If something goes wrong, don't assume you're out of options. Find a local attorney. But that's all for today. Stick around for next time, though. We're diving into, it's It's going to be Valentine's Day. We got a little special because what says true love better than a stranger on the internet pretending to be your soulmate or have a really good crypto deal?
Pretending to be the soulmate?
Yeah.
Not the real soulmate.
Dang. Yeah, exactly. So we're talking about catfishing. Hope to see you there. But in the meantime, make sure you like this video and subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you can see when new episodes come out. Thanks for watching and listening.